Chekhov. Now, many actors find Chekhov's plays just a little bit boring, at least at times, and many audiences find them boring as well. And there are two small things which stop scenes in the plays seeming as if they're about nothing much actually happening at all. Two things to make Chekhov 50 times more interesting. When we're working on a character in any play, we have to know what the lines mean and why the characters we're playing are saying the lines, and we have to find a way to say the lines realistically. We have to know a way to act. And this is something we have to do in any play, but particularly in Chekhov. What makes each scene and character 50 times more interesting is realizing that the characters in his plays are always, or nearly always, talking to the wrong bloody person. A scene may seem quite simple. A man talks to a male friend about being in love with a certain girl, but what makes the scene interesting for the audience is that they know that the second man, the friend whom he's talking to, is in love with the girl as well. That this friend is the one person he shouldn't be talking to about how much he loves this girl. In the play Uncle Vanya, a girl tells a girlfriend that she finds a certain doctor very attractive, and the girlfriend seems to simply encourage her to get the doctor's attention so as to make the man notice her more, but the girlfriend wants to stop this doctor showing his attentions to her. The same doctor at the start of the play in Uncle Vanya talks to an old servant for quite a long time about how boring he thinks his life is, and the servant seems to just listen and sympathize. But what the audience should be able to just see, even though the doctor doesn't realize himself, is that he's talking to a woman who has been bored all her life, doing the same job of a servant every day for over 50 years. Every day. She is bored. So instead of the scene being about a man complaining about his life, it's about a man who's very self-centered. In The Seagull, when a middle-aged writer is being friendly to a young girl, and he talks to her about his writing, he doesn't notice that the girl is falling in love with him. When the brother in Three Sisters is honest about himself out loud for the first time in his life, it's to an old servant who's deaf and can't make any sense of what he's saying. The characters don't realize they're talking to the wrong person. We watch a cat who plays with a mouse and doesn't take in that it's a plastic mouse, and we enjoy watching it, partly because we know it's a plastic mouse, and we like watching the cat. The cat doesn't know. A tiger who tries to attack a man, not realizing the man holds a gun. A blind man who doesn't realize that the person he's talking to has gone away. We're fascinated with the scene because we know something they don't. Even the tiny role of a labourer in Uncle Vanya, who very briefly appears to ask a doctor to come and help somebody who's ill. The labourer is completely unaware of the fact, which the audience should be just able to see, that the doctor is a little drunk and not a good person for the labourer to ask for help. And the audience shouldn't be sort of thinking, oh yeah, he's a bit of a drunk. These are real people with real problems, talking to the wrong people. An aging professor spends a scene repeating and repeating to his young, beautiful wife that he just wants her attention for a few minutes, without realizing that for her to listen to a single word he says has become a nightmare for her, a torment. You, the actor, need to know what the characters with you in a scene are thinking, even though the character you're playing may well not know. A man talking about loving a girl doesn't know that the girl he's talking to is about to commit suicide. He might notice that she doesn't give her full attention, and the audience won't know yet that she is about to commit suicide, but they'll see that there's this gap between them. And this means that particularly in Chekhov, when you're talking to the other character on stage, you have to actually be talking to them. You can't be talking at them. You can't be saying, well, I hope this is an interesting video for you to watch. It has to be, I hope this is an interesting video for you to watch. Then the audience sees that the person who's talking has made this completely wrong decision of choosing that person to talk to. And most of the actors I coach, when they're working on a Chekhov play and have got a problem, really only need me to tell them to work out what the other character's up to. Now, when I am coaching and when I'm making these videos, I sometimes make the mistake of giving too much information. I don't want to give too much information. I want you to come to me for coaching, for any more detailed information that you need. But the problem with giving too much information is that it can make you forget, I think, unless you're much cleverer than I am, which of course a lot of you will be, but if I give you a lot of information, it can make you forget some of the individual things. But there is another thing, a second thing I want to say about Chekhov's plays in this video. And so please hang on to this first point I've made about the fact that it's quite simply this one little fact you have to remember, that the character in a Chekhov play is talking to the wrong person. So hang on to that. There's one other thing which can make Chekhov's plays more enjoyable. And something which modern actors sometimes forget about or don't know about. And it's how, in the way we did 10 years ago and 40 years ago and 50, 100 years ago, how nice people sometimes are to each other, how well-mannered. Manners aren't just something we do, we say, have a nice day, and don't mean it. Have a nice day, there was a time, 10 years ago, when have a nice day meant have a nice day. And it's easy for friendship and love, and I'm not talking about being lovey-dovey and nice and good or some nonsensical advice about how we should feel about people. The hell with that. What I'm talking about is characters in plays, and of course actors to each other, but characters in plays often have a friendship towards each other. So when a man holds a chair back for a woman to sit down in a period play, it's a way of showing his affection. When a servant bows, or a man dresses up for dinner, or when he goes quiet when a lady speaks, it's a way of showing respect and maybe love. When a person describes how they dislike someone, or that they don't want to sell their house in a Chekhov play, or that they fear they're not very clever, or that they feel lonely and lost. It's very easy to do this with a note of complaining. It's very easy for me now to say, well, there's this we've got to do, and there's that we've got to do, and in my voice there's a sort of note of me wanting to say things, of me getting at you. And after a while it would be unbearable to watch. It's only if I'm speaking with some gentleness, some good manners, some warmth, some decency, that then it's pleasant to listen to. And this ability to be charming, to be warm, to be kind, it's a characteristic which some actors, like George Clooney, for the first 5 years of their main career, rested their success on. Being really nice. The characters in these plays act lovingly towards each other, often to the wrong bloody person, but they're not needy. So a simple line like, "Oh, please, do sit down," can be an example of showing your warmth, your decency, your love, your niceness. So, these plays are packed with things happening every bloody second. There are never scenes in Chekhov where nothing is going on. People are being well-mannered, loving, warm, and doing it to the wrong person. That's why in Russia, the plays are considered comedies.